What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Beefy Brothers podcast. We're here with a man who needs no introduction, the coolest guy in the world, the guy that has a leg up on the competition, Joe Cool.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Welcome to the pod.
My favorite podcast, the only one I listen to.
Wow, what an honor.
He comments every time.
That's
Gotta give it to him.
We won't tell you his name, his username, but he comments every time.
So Joe has been training with us with me specifically, for the most part, for the better half of a decade.
A decade, yeah.
It's going to be a decade now. And today we want to talk about, first of all, the story, how you lost the leg, the psychology.
You're missing a leg?
You didn't know?
Damn, I just found out. It's crazy.
The psychology of an amputee, or what it feels like to have lost a limb, and what it's like to have been working out for the last 10 years. So we'll get into all the little details. You're in for a good one today.
As usual, I'm Victor, that's Julian, and now we're joined by our good friend Joe Cool, Joe Fish, whatever you guys want to call him. He's fine with it. Anything else?
A man of many names.
So let's get right into it.
So, what happened here?
I was in a motorcycle accident at 19 years old, and, I was hospitalized for 2.5 weeks at Ryder Trauma Center, and, I don't remember what happened. I just remember waking up in a hospital bed, and I just opened up the thing, and I'm like, oh, my leg is gone.
Did you feel like something was amiss, or?
Honestly, I didn't. One of the crazy things is I had a catheter on, so I had to pee. And then I was raising the thing, going to use the bathroom. My mom's like, hey, don't move, you're good, And I'm like, what do you mean? I got to pee. I raise up I raise up the blanket, and I'm like, oh, shit.
But at that point, you had realized that at least you were in an accident a while in the hospital.
Yep.
Like, I can feel like, I was in something pretty serious.
Oh, yeah.
And then you lift up and...
I was like, wow, like, this is reality, So it was a big shocker.
Can't imagine how that first initial feeling must be.
To be honest, these are the first 3 questions that I asked myself when I woke up. What happened? Where am I? And where's my motorcycle? Because the last thing I remember was riding my motorcycle. I was supposed to see a couple buddy of mine from ROTC that came back from Bootcamp, and we were supposed to link up for breakfast and catch up, and they called me and they're like, you're not picking up. And then my mom called back and told them, like, hey, he got into a motorcycle accident and they cut off his foot the first day. So
first the foot?
First the foot, and then they tried to save it below the knee, but there wasn't enough viable tissue with how bad it was cut off, when I had the accident. So they talked to my mom and they were like, look, it's easier to do one and done, cut it above the knee, and it'll basically make the healing a lot faster. If I tried to do it below, there might be complications. It would help me be in the hospital a lot longer. So, my mom being a pharmacist was like, you know what? You guys are the doctors. You guys know what you're doing. Let's do it. Probably would have done the same thing too, honestly.
And this is the hospital that you worked at, right?
No.
This is another hospital.
This is Ryder Trauma. Yeah, the hospital I worked at wasn't a trauma center yet, So, yeah, they brought me to Ryder Trauma. I think that was a good thing. It's definitely one of the top hospitals in the world when it comes to trauma. So I was in a really good place.
That's true.
Yep.
Now, obviously, losing a limb, and we're going to talk about all the struggles and the obstacles that come with that, but you almost lost your life. Like, you got hit in a motorcycle by a car.
Oh, yeah.
What does that feel like to have known that you could have died?
Honestly, it's humbling. A lot of doctors told me I was really lucky, because, I lost my leg, but a lot of other people could have been worse, whether it be comatose as a vegetable or, like you said, death. But that's something that you kind of accept when you ride a motorcycle, You wouldn't get on if you wouldn't accept the risk. So for me, like, knowing that, I could have potentially died, I could have potentially, like, lost a limb or worse, I wouldn't have been on the saddle, But it really humbled me, it kind of, like, changed my perspective on life, It's very pessimistic. It wasn't until getting a motorcycle and, going through this ordeal, it kind of really changed me for the better. And honestly, I'm glad it happened. If I could redo it and go back in time, I would still get a bike. I would still put the risk in, only because, like, it changed me to who I was. This is part of my journey, the story of Joe Cool, like, this is something that I had to deal with and go through. So, things happen for a reason. I believe that.
We're all lucky to have you here, though, man.
Appreciate it, man. I'm glad to be a part of it,
So take us back to you're 19. Once you realize,
first of all,
hits,
that's super young. Like, we gotta acknowledge that.
Like, once you realize that this is my new reality, walk us through, like, your mindset. What was it like? Like, because you've always seemed very optimistic to me. And so, like, walk us through that. Once you realize, okay, this is my new reality, I got to go, do PT, I got to learn how to walk again, all these things, prosthetic. Like, what were you thinking at that time?
I mean, honestly, I think I credit my mental fortitude on this, because I was in the process of like ROTC. I was 2 weeks from signing my contract with the U.S. Army and basically saying when I graduate, I'll be an officer in the Army and doing airborne. So I was already doing some crazy wacko stuff to begin with, So honestly, going to that, like I took it as a challenge, I always like to challenge and push myself, So for me, it was like, yeah, this sucked, but why am I going to just grope on it and just feel down and pessimistic? Like, this is the reality. I'm either going to adapt or I'm going to sulk and struggle, So I had to do what I had to do and just survive. It's a great
attitude to have, though. It's a great attitude. It's like, no use crying over spilled milk, but that's a freaking lot of milk spilled. But
and you have to, and that's something that, you kind of learn, and as we grow, we evolve through pain. That's what causes change with people, So like for me, this is my change in life where it's like, bang, it's like, all right, time to grow.
But like you said, it's an eye-opening thing that kind of gives you some perspective and makes you appreciative of being here, of like being able to still function, still come to the gym, still hang out with friends, like all that
Absolutely. Stuff. And then again, going back to the PT, the first 6 months was just working out. Like before I even met you guys, I was just working out in PT, getting my body and my legs strong, being hospitalized for 2.5 weeks. I lost a lot of weight. Yep. I lost a lot of muscle. I was weak. I was skinny, I had to get strong in order to get used to the prosthesis, the prosthetic leg, and, not, hinging and potentially injuring myself and not doing with the right gaits and everything. So it was really important to get that foundation, which again, I'm sure we'll talk about later on, which is very important to why we work out, and why we do these things. So,
Just a quick question on that. How long do you have to wait or strengthen this leg before you're fit for a prosthetic?
It really depends. So in the beginning, your leg atrophies, right?
Yeah.
So, in layman's terms, it moves and shrinks around. So, maybe you can explain in better detail because this is your forte, but, I lost basically everything from above the knee and up from here. So that muscle isn't really connected together anymore with the whole chain of the leg. So I'm not gonna be able to flex certain muscles and all that. So there's gonna be a lot of weight shifting and distribution and change. So the beginning is more just like stabilizing and getting to that certain shape and cone, wrapping your leg around with gauze and the wraps to kind of form into a cone, because that's like the ideal shape that you want for a prosthetic. So get that cone shape so it can just fit in through and then attach, and then you can put your prosthetic leg on. So
interesting. Now, was there a moment that you can think of where you decided, like, I'm not going to let this define me? Because I can see how a lot of people would, I'm an amputee now. It's like everything's amputee. I'm the one-legged guy. I'm the whatever. Is there a moment, can you think of a moment where it's like, I'm not going to let this accident or the fact that I have one leg now define me?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I told my best friend who visited me at the hospital, I told him I'm going to eventually get back on a motorcycle. It may not be today, it may not be a week or a month from now, but I told myself I would, and I do. I know I'm crazy, guys.
I do, and I
currently rides motorcycles.
A bigger 900-pound Harley, guys, so, But yeah, that defining moment, it just kind of told me, like, you know what, you just got to push through it. I just felt like it was a challenge. That's something that I had to do, and this was like kind of my journey, the cross that I have to carry, when I go and deal with all that. Everyone has got something going on in life. For me, it's missing a leg. For you, it could be, some emotional, mental, financial, like, who am I to judge, and who are we to judge other people?
Yeah, it just so happens that yours is visible.
Exactly.
So how did you two meet? Was it like an online dating thing? How did you guys meet?
Hinge.com.
Hinge.com.
Oh, okay,
Actually,
good.
no, it was...
Grindr?
Yes.
Nice, man. Good. Grindr, use our promo code BFitBrothers to get 10% off a premium Grindr membership.
Remember, these guys are favorites on the ass of men, so,
We are, especially me. So how'd you guys meet for real?
So honestly, at that time, your girlfriend was a dietitian at my hospital that we worked at, and it was dietitian week and there was nutrition week, so they came in and the BFit Bros with it was Sam, Scotty, and you.
I'm not affiliated with BFit Brothers or BFit Brothers Enterprise.
They came and did a presentation, and I actually enjoyed it, and I was around that time when I was getting fitted for my leg and everything, and I was ready to get back into working out. And I talked to Julian one-on-one after, and I told him, I was like, hey, Julian, you know, like that was pretty cool, this presentation. I like your attitude and your mindset on how you work out, you know. Would you be willing to train me, you know, especially for someone who lost a leg and has no idea what they're doing, like training.
You had never really strength trained before, like with a set program.
No, well, I mean, if you consider like training with ROTC and working out.
No, I mean like an actual strength training, like in a gym.
No,
yeah,
I have not. Like I did like a couple days like at LA Fitness, and then my motorcycle accident happened, so I didn't really get to maximize and get that. But
And how soon after you lost a leg did this meeting occur? Like how soon after that?
it was probably a year because you know, I lost my leg in 2024, and our first class together was in
You mean 2014?
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, our first class in 2014 was when I lost my leg, but 2015 is when we had our first at the BFit Biscayne, you know,
Got it.
location.
Now, you approached him out of all three guys. You approached him.
Well, he was the owner, you know. I mean, he was the one talking for the most part, you know. So
He does that. So that's kind of serendipitous that you approached the only person that actually stayed, because we know the other guys kind of moved away and they shifted what they're doing with their lives. So you went to the one guy who still is able to train you. So that's kind of serendipitous in my eyes.
Yeah, so then I'll tell the story of how his first actual experience, because he wasn't training one-on-one yet. I told him, hey, come, we do a free boot camp. I think we're still doing a free
it was
boot
kind
camp
of
on
like the
Saturdays.
first official day you guys opened up. You know,
And
get
I was
people
like, go
in.
ahead, come into the boot camp. I was kind of like testing him in a way, like let's see if he's actually gonna show up. So he shows up in this boot camp, like the first like 10 minutes was jumping around, plyometrics, all this crazy advanced stuff, and then here this guy is with one leg and a prosthetic leg. So the ongoing joke, which is not that funny, like my partners at the time would like constantly like rag on me for that. He's like, man, because we were doing plyometrics and Joe falls at one point because he's trying to do all the stuff in it, you know, to his credit. And he falls on the floor, gets back up, and keeps going. So they always tell me, like, oh, you're an asshole, man. You make the one-legged guy fall. I was like, hey, the guy made it through the whole class. He did it.
That's a testament to both of you. That's kind of like the Joe Cool stories, falling down and getting back up. So that's kind of attributes who you are and attributes like who Julian is. He's an asshole. No, that he likes to push people to their limit. That's I think that's a match made in heaven.
And that's life, you know, like you have to fall and get back up, you know, that's how you learn and get better. You
Exactly.
know, you learn through failure. You're like, I've never done this. This
No,
is
if
the
you would have
first
quit
time.
that first time, if you fell and get embarrassed and all that, God knows where we would have been now. So
You were never like really self-conscious about it. From what I remember, you were always just like, I'm excited to do this. I want to do this. I know I don't look like anybody else in here. My circumstances are different, but I'm just going to do it. You know, meet me where I'm at, and I just want to move forward and get better. So, I mean, kudos to you, because a lot of people would be self-conscious because not only are you out of shape, but you're also, you know, have one leg and you're still kind of learning how to move around with this, you know, robotic leg.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people would use that time as an excuse to like, oh, I still got to get my bearings before I start trying anything that intense. And it's like, no, I'm going to just jump right into
a
it.
class of like 20 fit people?
Not a lot of people
I'm
with
just going to go in there.
Not a lot of people with 2 legs would do it.
Yeah,
And some with 3 wouldn't even do it. So good, kudos to you.
Thank you, man.
So I ask you all the time because I'm very curious about this. And I've asked you before, like, what's it like when you get a cramp on your one leg? But what are some struggles that you can tell people that are typical for like somebody with your amputee status?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that we don't even think about, you know, is the constant change and fluctuation of the residual limb, you know. So there'll be times where, you know, after wearing the leg for like 12 hours, it starts to shrink and then my leg starts to move around, which causes pain. So you've probably seen me limping around at the gym after coming here at 4:30 after work, walking around all day, and I'm just like, I'm in pain.
And it shaves too, right?
It's yep. Oh yeah, really bad. So sometimes you got to like put lotion and kind of like get that dry skin out. So it affects it, you know, because it affects the way I walk. It affects my gait, you know. If I'm walking weird, I'm gonna have back pain, right? I'm gonna start like abducting my leg and not following the proper gait, you know. Even people at work are like, oh, you're limping, like what's wrong? It's like,
I have one leg.
He has one leg.
Yeah. Dude, you're limping, everything okay?
yeah, so that's a lot of things that people don't think about, you know, because like that can cause super pain. There was a time, and you remember, I was on kind of crutches for 3 months because I had like black and blue on my stump. You know,
Take forever to heal.
Exactly. I was literally had a pressure level 1 pressure ulcer. You know, so that was pretty close to like getting worse. I had to literally lay off and, you know, use crutches, and again that limits me with my mobility and how I move and how I need to function day to day. You know, certain things like you know, if I have no arms because I have it hold on the crutches, how can I grab stuff? How can I move around? How can I carry things? So, you know, simple things that we take for granted, you know.
What about like home life?
I was going to
like
say something as simple as taking a
showering?
shower. You can't hop around in the shower. I almost fall in the
know how he does
shower.
it.
I almost fall in the shower once a week, and I have so far all my limbs.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously I have like the ADA grab bars to kind of hold on, you know, inside my bathroom so I can hold and shower and use one hand to, you know, use the soap and the loofah and all that stuff.
And cooking and things like that too, because you gotta, like, I'm sure transferring a big pot of something is
Hopping around, man, hopping around
with a full thing of food.
Well, you got to be careful, you know, it's not fully full. So there's ways to kind of like move around. You know, maybe I get like a cup and then pour the
So you gotta
water
be a little
in.
more cautious.
Exactly. There's just different ways to skin a pig, you know, just got to do things a little bit differently.
I never heard the pig in there, right? That's an interesting
We say
one.
the cat one all the time.
Yeah, the skin of pig is better though. I like the skin of
I like
pig.
the pig,
Yeah, I like the pig.
You know, so it's
He's
just
Filipino, so.
it's just figuring out, you know, and then you just learn as you go. You know, there's some things that, you know, make sense, whether it's shimmying, but again, you got to be careful too, because I only have one leg, so I'm not trying to injure that, you know, and then
100%.
Are there any you can think of that are not obvious? Like, I think, well, we're both on the same page. I go showering, okay, cooking. Are there any challenges that the average person would like, oh wow, I never thought about that?
sometimes putting on the leg, surprisingly, you know, like sometimes, like, you know, again, as the leg shrinks and grows, like, you know, while you sleep, you know, and the fluid comes back, there'd be times where I would struggle just to put the leg on because my leg was kind of too big to fit in, you know, and that goes back to the changing of the shape of the prosthesis and everything, you know. So you just have to be really mindful. Weight gain, for example, you know, or massive weight loss, you know, we can't be too fast or too slow because then it's going to change and then I'm going to cause chafing or I can't fit. So there's a lot of small things that take into account, you know, with that. And that's like the main one, because obviously, you know, with how we move with life, you know, simple day-to-day tasks, but that's kind of obvious. The change and the pain that you get, like even phantom pain from time to time, which is a real thing. That happens, you know.
Can you explain to the people what phantom pains are for somebody that's uninitiated?
So phantom pains basically
Besides the Metal Gear Solid game.
Phantom pain is basically when your brain thinks that your limb is still there, even though it's not. So the neurons are still connected and they still form there, and your brain thinks the connection from the brain to the neurons feel that it's there.
Some amputees have like their foot itches and their foot hasn't been there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a
years.
funny story. There was a time when I first got out the hospital and my left foot was itchy and I was in bed and I was like, oh my God.
How do you like
I'm
get
literally scratching in the middle of the air, like where my foot might be, like, is this gonna work? And for 30 seconds, like nothing was working until it just went away. And I was like, holy shit, this phenomena is legit.
What a bad sensation too. It's like an itch you can't scratch.
Pain and certain sensations, they're because they stem from your central nervous system. It's not as simple as people might think. Like, oh, the pain is specifically here. It's like that's such an interesting thing.
I actually read a statistic the other day. I think like 70% of pain is not made up, but your own brain interprets it as like, this is supposed to hurt me. This is supposed to feel this way. So let's say you have like a rib injury and somebody touches you here, but you're okay. You kind of like might recoil, expecting that pain.
Have you seen the experiments where they'll put
the hand and the
and
hammer?
have a fake hand?
I've tried that actually with the mirror trick, where you kind of like you put a mirror and like put where your foot would be, and it kind of emulates that and you cover it. For me personally, it didn't work as much. I felt like a lot more connection with like my stump and whatever nerves were left, you know, but I've heard it does help certain people, you know. Can't speak for my experience.
I want to get into our training and like what fitness has done for you, but before that, I just want to ask one more thing before we get there. I'm sure that you get looks and you get people interacting with you and asking, what's that like? And are there any memorable interactions that you've had with people? Yeah,
I get a lot of looks from people, especially younger kids, which is fine. You know, it's a curiosity. You know, it's like, whoa, this guy has a metal leg. Like, what's going on? You know, so I get a lot of people kind of like just noticing certain things, like I said, with limps and all that stuff. But, you know, for the most part, I've had positive experiences, you know. I will say I did experience this once dating someone where I was trying to talk to someone and, you know, she really felt uncomfortable with the leg, which, you know, in hindsight, I would kind of understand too, because imagine I'm talking to someone missing a limb. Like, it would be natural as a human to feel like, you know, this is different. You know, we love familiarity, you know, so I can understand that, you know, it might be hard for someone to accept and think otherwise, and that's okay, you know, like, it's just the way it is. But I've had a lot of good experiences other than that, you know, like I've had one of my first times in ultra, you know, after losing my leg, I've met other amputees that were in the military and at car accidents, and we got to bond and like take pictures with our leg and still enjoy life. You know, even people at the hospital that have lost their leg, you know, I've had people like nurses and doctors come to me and say, hey, can you talk to this patient and just give them some words of encouragement, like, you know, advice for what they, you know, that they need. And there was a kid that came back who lost his leg and was in a lot worse shape, and he got his prosthetic, and he asked me questions. You know, he wanted to show his story that he was walking, he was good, and he actually asked me, like, I want to get back on a motorcycle too. Like, what do you recommend? I'm like, well,
you guys are maniacs, man.
you
You guys
know,
are maniacs.
I just gave him a link. It was like, just look at this. You make that decision. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but you know. So
That's crazy.
It's been good. There's been a lot of positive things, and I've gotten even people telling me like, wow, you know, like you're an inspiration. Yeah, I get that a lot, and I always tell people, sorry, I didn't serve. You know, just a guy in a motorcycle
the war on
accident.
drugs.
Yeah.
The war on drugs you served. We actually just had a pretty cool interaction, I'd say, the other day here with Davian, who's one of our clients who's on the spectrum, and he was asking him all sorts of questions because he was curious. He was asking me, he's my client. He was like, oh, what happened to his leg? And Joe and him shared a moment that I thought was pretty wholesome. That was him kind of just sharing a story and him and Davian understanding. I thought that was a pretty cool, wholesome little moment there.
My toddler also had the same exact conversation with him like a week before that.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good. Like how you treat it and how you make people see it is something that I think I admire about you. You really make them see it like, hey, don't feel bad for me. Like, I'm good. Like, we're all good over here. So I
It's also
admire
a
that
great
about
way
you.
to teach people, especially children, that you can be different. You could, you know,
And
have
still-
something. And it's okay. Let's talk about it. No big deal. Everyone's different, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a really nice thing to teach kids because kids become eventually self-conscious if they're a little different. You
Yeah.
know, God forbid they have like a mole in their face or their ears are a little big or whatever, and it's like, well, look, I'm missing a leg and like I'm good. You know, let's talk about it.
Still happy, still thriving, still doing everything that people do here. So yeah, I like that. I really enjoyed that interaction.
So this is a fitness podcast, so I want to spend a lot of time talking about your regimen and what fitness has done for you. So what does your current regimen look like?
Well, to be fair, this guy planned it, and I just do what he
Yeah,
says.
what are you talking about?
But generally, you know, like it's just it's a lot of making changes to functionality, right? So for me, you know, obviously I'm missing a leg, so certain things like lunges and certain types of plyometrics and other types of exercise that we do, we have to take into consideration. So, you know, obviously there's a lot of upper body that we can focus on that we do, you know, just because we have the upper body, right? But there's a lot of changes, you know, but honestly, that's why, again, Julian's experience and expertise, like, you know, that's just what dawned me to start working out with Be Fit, was the fact that he knew a lot, you know, and with his background in exercise physiology and all that stuff, I was just like, you know what, this is the guy that can train me, this is the guy that can get me strong to work functionally, you know, and I know you guys like to say that in your other podcasts, like functional training, like that's what Be Fit does. And for someone who lost a leg, like
It's
that
all
was
functional. It's
I
all
really
functional.
wanted to be functional. Like,
Yeah.
you know, even our first like 2-3 weeks was just, we weren't going hard doing crazy weights. We were just doing the functional movements, you know, making sure I can hinge with a straight back and my hips are square and centered, you know, can I lift and not like, you know, arch and all that stuff. Like a lot of the foundations that come in. So when I do these functional things in my everyday life, we can do it, you know. So that's a lot of it.
And I don't want to toot his horn, but I can because he's not his own horn. I'm going to toot it. It was such a good, like, honestly, such a serendipitous, I will use that word again, moment for you, because you could have stumbled onto a mediocre trainer. You could have stumbled onto somebody who didn't know what they were doing and who just sold you, yeah, man, I'm a trainer, I'll train you. But you actually found somebody who cared, who has the knowledge, like you said, who took on the challenge and was able to kind of, and you guys are going to be like, oh, you're his brother, but it's true. You found somebody caring that with knowledge that was able to point you in the right direction and get you to where you are now. And you have a healthy relationship with exercise. You're one of the most consistent clients we have here. So
Oh yeah.
I would say like you guys meeting was a perfect moment.
Oh yeah.
For me, it was a big learning experience, which I've always, you know, one of the things that I always preach is that you're always learning as a professional and of course in life too. But you know, when I decided to take you on, it's not like I ever had experience with amputees. So instead of like, I already had my framework of how to train someone and what the foundational movements and all the things we need to work on. But then now it's like, okay, this guy's body works differently. I would watch you, I would have to study you basically.
Yeah.
How is it that the body is compensating with a prosthetic leg? Or what happens if he doesn't bring the leg and he has to literally only have one leg? Like, what can we do here? What's going to be overused? Like, what muscles are working harder here? Where are the imbalances?
You're losing foundational movements, no lunging.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So it was a learning experience from both sides where you would be like, okay, this is where he's at. Here's how we're going to modify basically everything, a lot of things.
Yeah.
We're going to just modify this, modify that. And, so it was on both sides. The other thing I wanted to say is this is why I love personal training. This is the essence of personal training.
Exactly it.
Everybody can benefit from it, but obviously people who are in a specific circumstance like this can really see the value of it, because you can't just go in and jump into a group class, or you can't do a generalized program that somebody gives you.
That's true personal training.
Exactly. So, that's why I love what we do, because it's like you can take somebody with one leg and still make them make all kinds of gains, which is where I want to go next. Like what kind of results have you seen in those 10 years?
I mean, dude, if you find some of the old pictures of Biscayne, it's like right here, like look at this Wimp, like right there.
You have any?
I do.
Okay, I'll put them up right here.
So, I was weak, and I just, as you can see, like I'm pretty muscular, pretty big,
daddy.
I was a weakling, but I really was.
I like to say what a dude is a dweeb.
A
The
dweeb,
glasses,
exactly.
the whole thing.
We say Wimp every time.
Yeah, but no, I mean, honestly, I've gotten so much stronger, I had no injuries, like other than losing a leg, like I've had no major injuries, no back pain.
We call him the LeBron James of Be Fit.
Yep.
So I'm telling you.
Leg LeBron James. We've never called him that.
So yeah, I think honestly those are the biggest gains, just how strong and how much strength that I've gained, and again the injury prevention that I've gotten from it, because again, like just being in this weird shape, how the body adapts, like I think that's another thing, is just how
I wouldn't call it weird either, it's just different. And now I would say one of the things that inspires me the most is you're able to jump into one of our classes, which are not easy, by the way. If you think they're easy, come try one. Jump into one of our classes and kind of lead the charge, inspire everybody. Everybody looks like, damn, look at this guy kicking ass, and I'm here struggling. Like, so if you can do it, it inspires people. It truly does inspire, whether you think it or not.
And can you talk about the mental health benefits that you've experienced with exercise?
Oh yeah, like there's a reason I just keep coming back. This actually, it just clears my mind. Like obviously exercising is an important part of our life. My life especially, working out and just feeling strong and healthy. But it's just like an escape to get away from the stresses of the world. Working at a hospital and dealing with life outside of everything else. Like. That's why I come here.
Therapy, in a way.
Exactly. We get to laugh and crack jokes and have a good time and, hang out. And, I've built a very strong relationship with you guys and everyone else at the gym. It's kind of like a family-oriented thing, which keeps me coming back. And I'm here for life. You guys got me for life. So,
that.
I'm always here to support. And, again, I'm just so appreciative, because without this gym, without having these 10 years of working out with Be Fit, like, who knows what I could have been? I could have been even more of a degenerate, you know what I mean? Like, God knows what would have been, so,
But I do love that. Like, one of the things I love most about you is your attitude, man. And I've said a few amputee jokes here, and if you're an amputee and you're offended, I'm sorry, but he's just given me so much freedom. Like, we just express each other. He makes fun of me. We poke fun at each other, but it just all comes from such a good place.
Friendship.
Yeah, so it is what it is.
And I will say, like, to give you a lot of credit, two things. One, you've been probably the most consistent person we've trained in the last. I mean, he's up there.
It's gotta be him and Rain.
Sure.
Him and Rain, I would say.
I mean, a decade of training. How many people can say they've been training at the same place consistently without really taking any time off? I'm talking no more than a week ever. And you are extremely supportive. You go to every event. Like, you are like part of the family for sure. Like the core group of Be Fit. For sure.
And even when, if you want to talk about, even
I ditched you.
So yeah, funny story how this guy ditched me. And I
ditched both of us. He ditched both of us.
Like,
so
I'm only training two-legged people from now on.
Let's go to this
Sorry,
side,
Joseph.
Only bipedals.
No, the inside joke there is that I traveled. I took a sabbatical for almost a year, and he still continued training. Like, he was still training at Be Fit.
Yep. So. He came over here. I have a picture of you doing. Hopefully, I can find doing an L-sit on your crutches. They look like a dweeb again, but. It was awesome.
Yeah, so again, that tells us the testament of the continuity of just working out and just being consistent. Even with my trainer saying, "Screw you, I'm going on. I'm going with my wife. I'm going to go to Asia and enjoy myself."
It wasn't just screw you; it was screw everybody.
Yeah,
screw me.
And I still worked out with everyone at Be Fit. I still got other trainers that worked out, so I still doing the work and still putting, all the effort in. And
So he missed more time at BFit than you did.
yeah.
So, can you tell us what the Joe Cool eating method is?
The Unorthodox method, yes. So, guys, I will say it here first. Like, it's not recommended, Like, I do some crazy shit, I'm just a crazy person, so I don't follow my advice. I don't recommend it.
We don't condone it.
But, I just, it's really just counting calories, but in a very weird way. So, if I know I want to go out drinking, I'm going to eat very light, and I'm just going to have maybe like a salad or have nothing at all. And then when it's time for the rage or banger at night, and go and eating all the bar food and everything and drinking, I'm there. So it's like damage control, basically, just knowing that, I have a set calorie count that I have to eat and get that, I'm just going to focus on getting that. It also could mean eating the same foods for weeks on end, like, the infamous protein pasta,
Crab pasta.
Crab pesto pasta.
I thought it was the perrito alemán food.
Oh, yeah, or just ground beef and just, eating ground beef, for lunch and dinner and, intermittent fasting. So, yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It does make sense. So the way that I would describe it as a fitness professional is what he does is you're not counting calories, but what you're doing is you're playing the balance game to the best of your abilities. If you know that you're gonna have a big meal later, which I recommend to my clients, by the way. If you know you're going out to dinner to an Italian restaurant, like have a lighter lunch. Maybe skip breakfast that day if you can handle it. So it's like, why am I gonna eat more when I know I'm gonna eat a lot later?
Exactly.
Or conversely, if you know you already had that big meal yesterday, today you might have to have like lighter. That's how he works. He's constantly balancing out. Exactly, and yeah, it's unorthodox, and it's not very precise because you have no idea how much you're actually eating, but it works for him. Like if he's on a regimen where he wants to lose some body fat, he'll get on that Joe Cool method, and he will lose body fat.
He won one of our challenges.
He won the last challenge, right?
On the BFit perrito alemán diet we call.
Yeah, that's right. So he's laughing now. Working out for a decade, like we said, is very impressive. What kind of mindset do you have to do that, and why is it so important for you to stay fit?
I mean, the mindset that you got to have is you just got to embrace the suck. Like if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Like 10 years consistently, like imagine athletes, for example, like this is like a full-time job for them. For me, I can't miss like my workout. If I do miss a day, I got to make it up some way, or, we go hard like the following week, you know what I mean? Or I work out on my own. So you just have to live this lifestyle, honestly,
But what would you tell someone? Because like, yeah, I completely agree with you, but it's so much easier to say that, but then when you're laying down in bed and you have to get up and you're feeling lazy, like what gets you out of bed? Because I'm sure a lot of the folks, like they want to have that. They would love to be that type of person that like, oh, I missed a workout, I got to get back into it tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is, as we know, most people are not like that. They're not going to embrace the suck. They're going to embrace the comfort.
Also, on that same level, something we were talking about earlier, getting out of bed is hard for like people with two legs.
Exactly.
So it should be even more difficult in your scenario.
Like, why is it that you feel like you can't miss a workout? I have to get back into it tomorrow.
And let's say Joe can't come in the afternoon or at his regular time, which is around 4:30 p.m. He'll come at 6 a.m. the next day. It's not a matter of if he's coming, it's when he's going to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you need to want to have the desire to do it. For me, like, I want to work out. I want to be healthy. I want to be stronger. I want this to be a part of me, and I want this to mold who I am as a person, and you just, look, you're not going to like the answer, guys, but you're just going to have to want to do it. You want to make a change, it all starts with you. I have to get out of bed and do the hardest part. The hardest part is getting out of bed, and I think 100%. You guys talked about it before. It's like, even if I don't want to do it, even if I'm not giving my full 100%, even if I go 70%, 60%, 50, 40, 30% at the gym, I did the hardest part and just got there. You have to do it. You just have to do it.
But to push back on that, you are not the type to ever give less than 100%. Honestly, like I train a lot of people. This guy goes hard every time. If you tell him go to failure, you're gonna see him on that bar just literally cannot do one more. So I agree with you. It's a mindset thing. And would you say then to these people that they lose the battle of getting up out of bed, you just don't want it enough?
Honestly,
is it fair to say that?
Yeah, like it's cliche to hear people like, David Goggins, stay hard, all that stuff. But like, honestly, it really is, Look at all these athletes like Kobe Bryant with the Black Mamba mentality, for example. Like, you literally have to live that lifestyle, and it is not easy.
It's not negotiable.
It's very hard.
Do we think maybe what do you guys think about this? But like, because you've gone through real adversity of losing a leg, like, you know what it's like to go through stuff and be in discomfort, so that it's not as much of an obstacle as friction as the average person that has no idea. Like, they think it's hard to just come lift weights. Like, it's hard to lose a leg and have to hop around and have to do all these things. So like, yeah, getting up and going and, you know, busting mass at the gym is like, it's hard, but like, it's no biggie.
Yeah, it's like cupcakes. Yeah,
You know,
no, I agree.
It's like somebody that comes from a third world country who's selling fruits on the side of the road, and then they come here and it's like, oh yeah, I'll do that job, like this other job that people are complaining about, because I know what actually struggling for a job is.
Yes, I've been through real adversity.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely one of the things. And another attribute that Joe had was he was, like you said, you were going to go into the military. So already kind of had that mentality of, you know, if you go into the military, it's very disciplined, very like by the book. So you already had kind of that mentality combined with what Julian just said. You had, you know, going through actual adversity. That's a combination for somebody that's going to be disciplined. Like, there's just no other way about it.
And that's really the key is, you know, it is adversity. You know, like you look at everyone's story that's been through like some type of pain and struggle, like that's come out on top, you know, that pain and that struggle, that adversity, that's what causes change in people. You know, like honestly, you look at everyone that you know that had a major change in their life, it was falling to the lowest point and coming back up and rising above the ashes like a phoenix, you know. So you really have to just find yourself, and again, it's hard. It's not easy, you know. And I'm telling you right now, even for me, like I've struggled from time to time when it comes to that. But you have to just figure out and do it, you know. Whatever that is, you have to find that motivation, that challenge, that spark to just let's do it, you know. Let's kick ass and rock and roll. And you know, like for everyone, it's going to be different, you know. Every story is different, but for me, it was just like, you know what? I want to push myself to the edge. I wanted to not use this as a hindrance. I want to still live my life because, like you said, I could have been dead. I could have been a vegetable. You know, why am I?
Second chance.
Exactly. You know what? Let me take life and grab it by the balls, because you never know, man. Like, I could wake up tomorrow. You could wake up tomorrow, and you know, we're gone. And that's what really kind of changed that mindset for me. That allowed me to like push myself to do this. So you know, it's just knowing that you never know when our time is going to come, and you just got to live like it's your last and live to the best of your abilities, because you only have one life, you know. Like
one of the things I want to piggyback off what you said, because I think it's, for me, it's one of the most helpful things when I am going through a tough time, is that you never, every time you look back on your life and you've gone through a tough time, you're like thankful for it. You realize how much it made you grow. But when you're in it, it sucks, and you just like wish that you weren't going through that. I just want things to be better. I want things to be better. But I like to remind myself, like, this is it. This is where the growth is happening. So I'm going through it right now. Don't wish for this or wish for that. Like, try to overcome this. This is going to make you a better person. If you're thinking about that now in the moment, I find it helpful, at least for me.
Agreed. No, like I said, it goes back to embracing the suck, you know, like that's part of the journey, you know. People talk about like the flowers that bloom and like, you know, the end of the road, right? But people don't talk about the struggles that it took to get there, you know.
The manure.
And let's be honest, the gym is the manure. The gym is hard. Like, we put you through a ringer. Like, if you're not willing to push through this, what are you going to be able to push through?
And that's why I'm sorry, but like, I have very little tolerance for like the complainers and the whiners. And it's like 72 degrees and you're too hot and this and that. And it's like, I would love to, you know, inspire people that, yeah, it's a little hot. Yes, this sucks. Yes, your muscles are burning. Like, good. It's like the Jocko Willing thing. Good. It's hard. Good. That's what we're here for. We're here to struggle, you know? So I think that hopefully people listen to this and like, okay, if he can do it and he has one leg and he has all these struggles, like, what am I complaining about?
Exactly.
You know?
So what's the biggest lesson do you think you can share with people that this whole experience has taught you?
Honestly, the biggest lesson that I got from this is like, you know, life is short, and
stunt it.
That is, you know, and life, you just gotta
got him.
You know, life is wait. Okay, we want to do that again.
Serious part two. Shit, my bad.
Left short.
I mean, I would say, you know, like, this life is humbling, you know, and you got to really take the adversity with what you got, because, like I said earlier, everyone's got something going on, you know. It's how we adapt and how we move toward this adversity which shapes us, right? So, you know, we all have a problem in life that we have to figure out, and it's coming with a solution to it, you know. So, again, it's different for everyone, but for me, it's just, you know what, if this is what I got going on, what can I do to make it better? You know, what can I do to improve myself? What can I do to get better and make myself a better person, to make me a happier person, and to live the life that I want? You know, like, you just have to wanna get it, you know, and you can't use excuses, right? Like, for anything, you know, like, I'm missing a leg, but I still ride a motorcycle, I still work out, I still live life like a normal person, you know. Why am I gonna let something hinder me, you know? So, and I get it, you know, it's difficult, you know, it's stressful, like, you know, there's a lot going on, and it just keeps getting harder and harder, right? But at the end of the day, you just got to want to do it, and you got to want to succeed, and you're going to have to put the work in to do it in order to get it. You know, like I said before, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but clearly this ain't easy, and not a lot of people are doing it. And where do you see the successful people come from? You know, people that put the work, that put the struggle, that go through the ringer. You know, you just got to do it.
And there's people with far, I wouldn't want to say less, I don't want to belittle somebody's shortcomings or somebody's struggles, but somebody who makes up a struggle to not have to, like, oh no, but I have this and I have that and I can't work out because I have so and so. But like you just said, you gotta face the adversity head on and just tackle it. Like, we can all do something about it.
I was gonna say something similar. You can always find excuses to validate why you don't want to do something, but deep down inside, it's because it's hard and you don't want to embrace the suck, like you said. So you can either use those excuses, or you can say, no, I'm not going to let that define me. I'm not going to use this as an excuse. I'm going to do the thing.
I'm morbidly obese. I can't do this exercise. You could do a plethora of other exercises. You can go for walks. You could do all, like, there's always a fix for everything, like you said. Like,
it's accountability at the end of the day, guys. It's accountability.
And self-accountability. It's not about pleasing somebody else. It's about being true to yourself.
You know, like, even like, for example, when I know that I'm trying to lose weight, I'm like, hey, I got to be accountable to myself and know that, you know what? I got to start eating junk food. I got to start, like, counting my calories.
Stop eating 5 bags of chips.
Exactly. You know, doing the, you know, let me get on the Joe Cool method. You know, let me actually, like, put myself accountable and, like, you know what? Hey, I got to make this change. And the only way that it gets done is if I actually apply it and do it, you know. And if I don't do the work, nothing's going to change.
And I do think that that's another big, I know that it's another big plus of having either trainers or a community like we have at Be Fit, because sometimes you're kind of falling through the cracks and I have to hold you accountable, because, yeah, you can say it has to come from me, and it does, but every now and then you do need that person, push, that mentor, that friend, that community to
pull you out of the hole.
Hey, you've kind of been going down this way. I know that you want to do that. Like, it's time to hold you accountable, because sometimes you'll come with an excuse.
No, because life, it's true. I mean, life gets in the way. Your job is overwhelming you. You're struggling to pay rent, whatever it may be. All these things are adding up. The last thing on your mind is, oh, I should go get a workout. But you have a good mentor, a good friend that tells you, hey, this is going to be good in the long run for your mental health. Trust me.
So it's a combination of, yes, it has to come from within. At the end of the day, no one's going to force you
90%.
or like shove you into doing it, but it helps to put yourself in the right environment.
100%. Speaking of the right environment, how has working out and fitness and all this that we've been talking about, how has that helped you outside of the gym? How has that helped you with the relationships, with work, with, like, your confidence?
Well, definitely confidence booster for sure. You know, like, obviously went from Wimp to swole, strong guy, you know what I mean? So it was just great. It just gave a confidence booster for me, especially, again, I'm missing a leg, and I've had experiences where people, you know, kind of like felt uncomfortable, a little hesitant, which, again, understandable, but it just definitely made me a better person. Like, I just felt more self-love with myself, you know, like, hey, you know what? I can do this. I can actually go and do something that someone with 2 legs struggles with, and just over-exceed and just destroy the competition. And it's just like, wow, I'm supposed to be in a handicap, quote unquote, you know. And again,
and I think that's like the push of the first snowball to cause, like, the bigger snowball is, you're doing all these things in here, why can't I do everything else out there, right? Like,
exactly. And then the benefits that come with it too. Like, I know something that, you know, like, we were talking about, like, what are some of the benefits of being an amputee, you know? Like, I ain't gonna lie, the handicap parking is great, you know? Yeah. I love that, you know, getting in front of the lines with TSA and all that, in the flying. So, guys, if you ever need a plug to fly and skip all the lines, you know, just fly with me. Or that too, you know? Skipping everyone, you know? And again, it's a mental thing, right? Because physically, yes, I am technically disabled and handicapped, but mentally, I feel normal. Well, I'm handy-capable, you know what I mean?
Let's not push normal.
To be honest here. I'm glad you brought up the positives, because one of the things I was going to say that I forgot when we were talking about training is that the amount of balance and stability that you build when you have to hop around on one leg is insane.
And the calf size.
Like this guy
Can we see the calf?
This guy can jump rope.
Look at that thing. It's bigger than both of mine combined.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He can jump rope. He can do plyometrics. He can do jumps. Like him on one leg is insane. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show, like, if you practice something, your body's gonna adapt, and you're just gonna get really, really good at it.
It's like a human
so all
pogo
these
stick.
all these people that again come with excuses, I have no coordination. I can't jump rope because I have no. No, you just don't practice because you suck at it. And instead of saying, I want to get better at it, I'm gonna practice this, you use the excuse that no, I just have no coordination. Guess what? Everyone has coordination if they work on it.
I love when somebody
Exactly.
tells me, like, I can't jump rope. You're about to. Like, we're gonna learn today, so figure it out.
I mean, yeah, you know, talking about that, like, you know, like one of my favorite exercise, like regimens that we do is the unconventional stuff. You know, I work out without the legs, so you know,
Zombie crawls and
just
B-boys.
all this freaky stuff, which is
zombie.
nice, you know, because it's just different. You know, we get to work out different parts of the body that, you know, is kind of limited when having the leg on. And there's some benefits with having the leg off that we can do, like, for example, levers and a few other things which are kind of funky, but it works out different parts of the body. And again, it goes back to the functionality of it, right? You know, because imagine hopping around with one leg and, you know, keeping my balance or, you know, my stability. It just helps, you know, just by doing it here in a safe environment, I get to, like, actually, like, you know, and
Practice and rehearse
practice
these things,
exactly. And it even happens in real life where I kind of catch myself where, like, maybe I'm with crutches and I slip because it's wet, but because we've been training for so long, I'm able to kind of plant my foot down and hold myself and not bust my ass and fall.
So glad you brought
know?
that up because we didn't even talk about that, but like the many benefits that, you know, people forget that exercise is not just to get better at exercise.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's been a million occasions where you found yourself having to carry something while also balancing on one leg and you're like, thank God I train, because it really does translate to like outside of here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, it's and again, especially with someone like me who could get like back pain and you know, like hip pain because if I'm not walking with the right gait, you know, it could just hurt myself and I could be putting myself in an even worse situation. So it's very important to like have this functional training to strengthen, get strong, because again, like, you know, I'm basically just using like my glutes, my hips, and whatever residual limb is left, you know, like I don't have this full leg chain where...
And sometimes you don't even have the prosthetic. Like a lot of you don't know, but he hangs out all the time for whatever reason without the leg, whether it's hurting or he worried too long the day
So
before.
let it rest even.
So he has to like walk around with the crutches, and now it's like getting out of a car with one leg, hopping out, you know, grabbing things like you said. It's definitely a challenge, but it helps to be strong. That's for sure.
Absolutely. You know?
Okay, so I want to end it with this. What advice would you give to either another amputee or even someone who has another condition or something where they're using that as an excuse or just an obstacle to start working out, to start exercising, start living a fit lifestyle? What would you
Right.
tell them?
So I would tell them, and this is like something that my first prosthetist told me, you know, when I first started working with her, you know, allow yourself to grieve. You know, obviously this is a big thing that happened to you. You have a lot of things going on. Set a timer for like 20, 30 minutes, grieve and like, you know, cry, read letters, do whatever that, you know, kind of like let your emotions out. But after that, turn that off and move and keep it moving, you know, like you just gotta want to change, because it's hard, guys, you know, it's hard to adapt and do this, but you just need to just like have the support, right? That's another thing too, is have a good support system. That's something when I was in the hospital, I had my family, had my friends, I had people come and visit me, and you know, and having that village, that support system just made it easy to transition to actually like push myself to get to where I'm at today. So having that big community, that big like village, that help is huge. And even if you don't have that big of a help, you just have to know like, what can I do to get better? I just have to do it because I know it's something that I need to get done. You know, it's for the betterment of me, and I just know that if you need to do it, you're gonna have to put the work in. And sometimes it's hard. It really is hard. But when you do it, trust me, at the end of it, when you reach the finish line, the feeling of the proudness, it's like when you kind of like build something or finish a job, that feeling that I did it, you know, and I got through it, accomplishment, exactly. That is just the best feeling in the world. And let me tell you, like, once you get through that and you go through it, you'll learn to become a better person. You'll become someone that's appreciative of what you have, and it's just like, wow, you know, I can do this. I was able to go through this adversity and come out on top even better. You just have more confidence. You feel like you can take on the world, and you know, like it's a challenge that I think everyone should learn to embrace, and you know, just find help. You know, find some support that you need, and you know, there could be a lot of things, whether it's books, people, you know, online forums. Just find something to help you that resonates with you, and stick with it, and then you'll succeed.
I think a good way to visualize this and simplify it. Let's say somebody's struggling with whatever the reason is that they can't move forward is. You're here, right, in kind of a hole and kind of depressed, whatever that might be, and you want to be here, like a better version of yourself. The recipe or the mathematical equation to get to here is first the desire and second discomfort. Embrace the suck. Like that is part of the recipe. It doesn't come without that. So once you know that, you're like, oh, okay, I got to put myself in uncomfortable situations.
You just tell yourself, this is the
process.
part.
This is it. This is the recipe, and I know I'm going to be here one day. So. But at least that gives you hope, because I think a lot of times people just don't feel like they have hope. They feel hopeless.
Like you just said, like mentally, crawling out of a hole would be the same analogy. Like I gotta go through all this mud, all of this suckiness, mud, and all to find the the green grass on the other side.
Yeah, I think it helps to know that when you're in that hole, that I have to do this.
I have to do this in order for things to improve.
I keep wishing for things to just improve out of thin air, and no, you have to move. You have to get on with it and embrace it. So I think that's a great place to
call it.
Guys.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our very special guest today. I think he did a great job.
Thank you.
If you guys ever want to come work out with him, you know where to find them, right here.
He would be happy to have you join.
Exactly.
Many people have come and many people have failed. Failed the Joe Cool Challenge. But guys, with that, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Be Fit Brothers podcast.
He knows, he's a fan. Also, show him that ass.
The biggest ass in Aventura.
Ass Ventura.